We have another TV category finalist. Oh boy, this name. Hey, I remember you from last year. I got it wrong last year as well. Mihkel, Jäätma. How's that? Awesome. CEO and founder of Realeyes. And also from the UK, we have Paul Martin, VP of Analytics for Xaxis.
Good morning, everyone. We've got a
Clickers are right there. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've already heard and seen a little bit this morning that the days of sitting around with the family watching TV all in one go is sort of, well, they're not over yet. I think we saw a number of 40% earlier this morning. But certainly today, more and more people are watching TV on demand, live as well, multiple devices, and maybe even using multiple devices at the same time, doing many different things. At the same time, it doesn't really make any sense. I think we heard this already this morning, that sort of targeting audiences just based upon demographics, such as age and gender, just doesn't really make sense anymore. So what I'd like to do today is share with you how we've taken how emotional response data to online TV can be measured for any audience, and then we can use that to inform creative and media planning processes. And Mihkel is going to share with you some of the results that we've had upon impacting our social media with this. I think it's fair to say that with traditional TV, not all audiences, we're used to a single hero advertisement used for targeting across a broad population. And that's often narrowed, obviously, to a specific demographic, but nevertheless still associated with quite a large amount of wastage, because not all audiences like the same ad. Today, there are many new online platforms and data that are becoming available, which means that we can now tune and adapt TV to specific audiences and not just demographics. So with Realeyes, what we did was combine our audience data with Realeyes' emotion data. And for those of you who are not familiar with Xaxis, we collect and process and store hundreds of different types of audiences, from basic demographics through to interests, and work with advertisers to build specific audiences as well, and we use that for targeting. Realeyes creates and generates emotion data by measuring facial recognition through people watching videos. They use that do that through well-established panels, and that allows them to provide detailed emotional response data around sort of levels of happiness, sadness, confusion, and things like that. And for this particular study, we worked with Realeyes and collected a huge range of sample across a number of videos for our advertisers, and allowed that to then join that with our audiences, and allows us to come up with something what we call an audience emotion map. So I'll just take you through that now. So what you see here is the audience emotion map, and you can sort of see at a glance the audiences that most resonate with the creative. And so this really helps planners really kind of unpick at a glance what should be looked at. Just to explain this chart, so on the horizontal axis, we have what we call the engagement score. These are people who are watching videos all the time, are constantly watching the video. On the left-hand side are people who are less engaged, people who are easily distracted. On the vertical axis, we have what we call our emotion score. On the top are audiences who are responding positively, so people who are very happy. On the bottom, we have audiences who are responding negatively, so people who are relatively sad or relatively confused by the creative, perhaps. And then the size of the bubble here is the relative size of the audience. And here you can sort of see how each audience can be located within this space. And with this specific example from Sony, what you sort of see here in the top right are those people who are most positively engaged with this creative. And as you'd expect, people who are moviegoers, they're gamers, they're techies, so perhaps nothing too unsurprising here. Where it gets more interesting, you've got people like Realeyes. They're also positively responding, but actually less engaged. And this reflects, in this particular case, the high-spec TV of Sony is a little bit perhaps out their price range. They're not really going to be able to buy this. Another interesting segment that you can sort of see here is the house-proud segment, perhaps not the category or the audience that are most likely to watch a lot of TV, but nonetheless really want something that looks smart within their TV, within their lounge, basically. And then also we can sort of see the audiences which are perhaps the ones to avoid, the ones that are negatively exposed or show negative response to the creative here. And these people are really probably ones that seem to be too busy to be watching TV. You've got people who are pet owners, busy walking their dogs. You've got people here who've got hobbies or maybe are too busy at work. So hopefully this sort of helps demonstrate how this can sort of be brought to life for planners. I think the one other thing I'd like to mention here is there's not only the way the data can be collected and combined with the audiences doesn't need to be done and linked to the campaign. It can be done independently, and that means that we can do this prior to the campaign. It means we can generate these audience emotion maps ahead of time, and that can inform the planning processes. I'm going to hand over to Mihkel now, who's going to share some details around the impact on social media.
All right. Well, thank you, Paul. What we at Realeyes add to that audience emotion map is a prediction of campaign outcomes. And the way we do that is that we've assembled a big data set of emotions that is linked to real-world outcomes. So we know what people are watching, what they're feeling, and then we also know how those videos actually did in the market. The biggest outcome data set that we have at Realeyes is around social media. So we know about how more than 300,000 people were feeling when they watched almost 2,000 videos, and then more than 6 million data points, social data points about how that video did in the market. So we've used that data set to train prediction algorithms that are going to tell about any video you give us in terms of how many likes or shares they're going to enjoy. And to make it a bit more universally applicable, we now report it as any social actions per 1,000 views. So to show you how it actually worked in the Sony campaign that Xaxis ran across Europe, as Paul already explained, we quickly run a large sample emotion test, and then we match those results to the audience segments that the client actually works with. And as you see also in this case with this green response line about those house-proud people segment, is that they kind of overachieve against the other segments. And we see it for all the segments. And then we translate that knowledge into the prediction of how that segment is going to perform. So when you look at that table here on the right, you see that there were multiple segments that responded at over 10 actions per 1,000 views, while the overall average came to only 6. So using emotion targeting the right content to the right people with that method allows you to get and squeeze out the best performance in every and any situation.
And just to quickly wrap up, thanks, Mihkel. I mean, when we basically targeted the more positive audiences relative to an untargeted approach, we did see like an 80% lift in this approach on the impact on social media. And we're now we work with a number of different agencies and advertisers now within the Group M group, and we're starting to sort of see some really positive results and responses from this. But in essence, basically what we can now do with this is join emotion data with audience data and do this ahead of a campaign to provide predictive insight to inform the media and creative planning process. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys. So we have 1 minute for questions for these two. Do we see any questions from the audience or the jury? We have a question. Mark Donatelli, I see his hand up.
What impact in time of day? Do you see a correlation between time of day and your ability to validate the result?
In this particular instance, we haven't looked at time of day. I mean, we could look at that, but we haven't looked at time of day at this particular point in time.
Another quick question? We've got a juror.
Did you see a way for your clients to actually change their creative to optimize against these results?
Well, the earlier we get involved, the more chance there is to improve and actually change the creative. Majority of what we do is literally working with the big amounts of assets that are already produced. So it can go up to like hundreds of videos per campaign. Usually it's like 4 or 5. So it's about just matching those pieces of assets with the right audience segment.
So the client, say, had maybe multiple versions of a creative, then choosing which one would perform best as opposed to going back and redoing the creative?
Yeah, of course, there's this learning feedback as well, that around this campaign, I saw that work, so next time I'm producing the videos, I can already build on those learnings. But again, the earlier we get involved, I mean, sometimes we get involved as early as animatics. I mean, the videos are not even there. It's just some ideas and pieces of music to see what resonates. So the earlier you start to plan, the better, and that's kind of what Paul brought out as well, is that because workflow-wise, it's separate. I mean, you don't have to actually put it inside the campaign. You can do it before as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think just to add to that, you know, it can be done in the creative process or at the media process. Media guys might be just given a creative and they have to work with it. So what's the best targeting for that? Or alternatively, further upstream in the creative process, how can we inform the creative process separately?
All right, we'll make this one quick if you can.
Okay, sorry. Do you have a sense of how the emotional response creates shares and likes? Does that translate onto improved ROI or sales? Do you have a sense of whether it's just kind of acting in the social sphere or whether it drives real world conversions?
Yeah, very good question that has kept us awake for long years at Realeyes, because the reason we use the social data as the starting point is that that's available. We can use it publicly. All the actual ROI sales data cases are private work between clients that we can't really share, but that is the next stage. I mean, what I would say is that those things are obviously to some degree correlated, but if you want really advanced proof about the sales data, we do run those specific projects if we have the data available.
Yeah, and we're looking at other metrics too, just like, you know, video quartiles, you know, are the audiences that are most positively resonating, kind of viewing the videos the most as well, and things like that.
All right, thanks. So, Paul, Mihkel, thanks very much, guys. Cheers.